everyone, my name is Alexandre Hammoudi and I've been dancing for ABT for many years. I am a soloist, I am from France, and this is my ABT memory. I was slated to dance the roles of Paris and Tybalt. Paris is a wealthy, handsome bachelor, where Tybalt is more of a bad boy, kind of like a bully, enjoys putting the mess in the marketplace. Well, there's a bit of a tradition, since I think Romeo and Juliet was one of the ballets in my first season at ABT, 2003, I believe. It's one of the greatest stories for me. It's one of the greatest stories to portray and to tell. And it's also, to my knowledge or my taste, one of the greatest love stories and tragedy ever told. So there's a bit of a tradition of watching the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, the modern version with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. And that's been a bit of literally my ritual before the night of my shows as Romeo, as Tybalt, and as Paris to pick up the season. One of the tradition is to watch the modern version with the the pop culture, the gunfights, and all of that, and then sometimes go back to the old school Italian film. But basically, yeah, try to embody it and try to kind of get that essence and that drama that's been portrayed through the years in very many different medium. And to me, it helps me to soak in the material and to kind of have the goosebumps, and it just gets it going. And then you step on stage or you step in rehearsals and you kind of really feel those characters, and you can bring a part and a piece of yourself to the character and make it your own. Well, when I first joined the company, it's a bit like a trial by fire. So I was a ballroom man, like most men. I was a Montague man in Act 1 and in Act 2. So it's you getting a sword in your hand and you're learning how to sword fight, and then suddenly you're with the guys and fighting around on stage, and the girls are screaming and running around and for their lives. So I've done that. I've been part of the corps de ballet, the structure, the glue that holds it all, which was really fun. There's nothing like the ballroom scene, if you ask me. And I've also been fortunate enough to portray Romeo many times. I've danced with Hiseo, was my very first Juliet. She was very special. She's a tremendous, she's a fantastic artist. It's she gives everything. And as a first go, when you might be a bit nervous about things and you're not quite sure how to approach the unknown, it was really great to have in front of me, to have her as a partner, dance-wise and artistically, and really kind of dive in those roles. I've also danced with Misty Copeland, which was lovely, fantastic. Every partners are different. They all bring something different to the canvas that we're painting, and it's really no shows are the same regardless. Even if you're performing with the same partner, the experience is always different, and having different partners brings different colors, and that teaches you something about yourself and about them, and you're just making this thing together. So it's always very personal, that bond that you share with the partner at the moment. I personally joined ABT to be around some of the greatest dancers. It was the greatest motivation. In Misha Baryshnikov basically was the beacon for all men in ballet, and then that opened the door to the golden era of ABT, and the Ethan Stiefel, Angel Carrera, Vladimir Malakov, Jose Manuel Carreño, Herman Cornejo. I mean, the list literally goes on of how many incredible people you could be looking up to. But I always had a very soft spot in my heart as an artist for Jose Manuel Carreño, who just had the ability to shine like the sun on stage. And that was going way beyond any ability or skills, you know. And for roles like Romeo, you kind of need to just be a human being. And I believe that when I was offered the opportunity to do Romeo, when Kevin sat me down with Victor Barbie to talk about, which completely unbeknownst to me, when we started to talk about the opportunity that I may get to do this role, the main thing was because this will break you away from the mold of the prince and the noble dancer, because Romeo is a teenager. He's just a guy. And there's a very human quality to that. And I always thought that watching Jose doing these roles, there was an incredibly human quality to his approach to it. Well, it's always very special to get into the Met, to feel like you're at home in that house. You know, we live in that house for like 8 weeks straight. So it becomes your house, becomes your home. You almost feel like you're sleeping there. And it's an incredible time in the year because we're just dancing so much and we're doing so many performances, and it's difficult, but it's also a joy to be on stage that many times. My favorite ABT Met season memory would have to be the first year that we did Manon, which is also a Kenneth Macmillan ballet. The first year that we did Manon, which I want to say 09 or 08, that was an extremely special time because I've never felt the company having so much attention together to the center of the stage, trying to make this ballet, especially one scene. We did the Adagio with Diana Vishneva and Alessandra Ferri as Manons, and it just was incredible because we were learning from the best, and most of my generation was a young generation at the time, and it just felt incredible. You know, the show itself, the dress rehearsal, the process of learning it, just the attention and the respect that went into just doing that was incredible. Everybody was in the wings. Everybody was just trying to get a piece of it. All the guys on stage in the Adagio, I mean, it's like eight of us, I think, that are partnering Manon, and very characterized people, and everybody took it on themselves to be those characters. And when that moment happened, it was incredible. To me, it's one of those memories I will always cherish. It felt like holding gold and just giving it to the audience. It was very special. Well, it's an interesting state, I guess, because we've been, you know, we are all, as much as I would love to do the Met season, and as much as I would love to be with all my peers and friends and colleagues and do this thing, I think we're all in the same boat, and this is something that touches everyone. You know, it touches family, it touches your friends, it touches everyone. Everybody is basically going through this at the same pace, and the ABT machine is not just dancers. There's crew, there's musicians, there's wardrobe. I mean, there's a lot that goes on into it, and we are all in the same boat. We're all waiting. We all want to put on a show. Everybody wants to go outside, and everybody wants to get back to normal. So, there is that sense of, man, this is really tough. But at the same time, we are all in this together. And that somehow, even though you're not seeing people, you're not talking to them, it unifies. There is a sense of unification that one day we will all get back to it together. The way I pass the time personally, I'm basically going into filmmaking. So I'm doing a lot of editing right now. I'm editing my own material, my own footage, and basically, you know, learning and going, learning and going. So as much as I would love to be on stage right now and share this wonderful thing with everyone, you know, dance, I can try to make the best out of this time and, you know, just create project, make art, just get it done. What is next for me? Well, I've touched a couple of different things that I had interest in, such as choreographing, directing, and filmmaking especially. And it's something that is very dear to me, that I've tried to acquire as much knowledge as I could in this time and in the past 2 years. So that's what I really want to do. It's what I'm going to do. Making films and pushing my storytelling abilities and just keep that tradition going, which I've been doing for 18 years. And it's telling stories and trying to transport people into worlds that make you think, that may or not always be there or real, but are relevant. And I believe that filmmaking will give me the opportunity to keep doing that and bringing art and storytelling to you. First of all, I would say the dream. It was always a dream of mine to be part of this company and to just be there, you know, and to be able to be a voice and a speaker with my instruments for that company was a dream come true. So on a personal level, that's what it means to me. You know, it's not that any company is more than the other, but to me that one was the one. So to be part of it and then to be inside and pushing the envelope of the art as an ABT member was pretty amazing. I would also say gratefulness and happiness, because I've met most of my friends and family through ABT, and we've gone through so many things together that, you know, it's kind of incredible. All the places that we've gone to, all the memories that we shared, all, you know, on and off the stage. And that is because of ABT. I can't really say that I would have the life that I have if I wasn't a member of ABT, you know, and I'll always be grateful for all the opportunities and all the great things that came from that. So if I take a step back and I'm not thinking about myself and I think about ABT, I would say there is an incredible sense of community and family type work. We all have families, so obviously it's not our family, but it has that sense that we are all in this together again. And it's pretty amazing. We all share the same thing. We all share the fact that we want to dance and we want to be on stage and we want to tell those stories that have been told before us. And ABT is a place where, if you're lucky, you can do that. All right, so here's a little story for you on a Romeo and Juliet memory, I guess. There's many, but this is something that happened to me, and it happened a couple times, so I'm just going to share that. So when I first joined the company, it wasn't the first year, but when I joined the company at first, I was a Montague man. You come into the marketplace, you have your sword, a brawl is exploding in the marketplace, Capulet, Montagues, they go at it, they basically start fighting. The whole set starts with Tybalt fighting Benvolio. That's how the whole fight starts. And then it goes by waves and people start to join after each wave. So it builds, the fight starts to build. The Tybalt and Benvolio fight is quite important because it sets the tone and you don't want that tone to be off musically. Like, I mean, the whole thing needs to like stay together. And I believe Benvolio's sword just broke into hundreds of pieces. And I was kind of right there. It was the Met season. And just like we're told to do so, I basically took my sword, and I think I have like 16 counts until my fight starts. I took my sword, and Benvolio turned around. I don't remember who it was, but I just remember like sword, sword, and big eyes. And I just basically gave my sword, felt great about it, and then I realized, oh, my fight's about to start. So I ran, I ran. They were able to keep going on their fight. I ran to the wings, jump over chicken cages, stairs, and whatnot. There's a bunch of props everywhere. And somehow one of our crew guy had seen the whole thing happen and was waiting for me with a sword in the wings. He was like, here. So I grabbed the sword, I came back on stage and started fighting. And everything went well. Everything went well. And it was cool because Kevin, which was in the audience, like every single show, he saw the whole thing happen, which, I mean, we're trying to be discreet about it, but like he came up to me after Act 1 and was like, wow, that was quick. Good boy. And that felt good, I have to say. You felt like you did something much bigger than yourself for, a second. And that's kind of what it's about. So you fast forward years later, and this time I'm Romeo, and we're getting to Act 2. Mercutio has been slayed. Tybalt's on top of the stairs. Everybody's telling you gotta fight, you gotta fight, you gotta fight, you gotta fight. So you're staring at that sword, and I'm staring at the sword on the floor, and you give all the feels, and I picked up the sword, slash around, look at Tybalt, and we go at it. And usually, that sword has been used before that. It's Mercutio's sword, so it's on the floor there, and it's been banged for like 5 minutes before you're taking it. So I just go at it, and we're just going at it and going at it. I believe Patrick Orwell was my Tybalt. I'm not sure, but I believe that's what it was. And we're going at it, and suddenly mid-fight, like just, like the sword goes like cold noodle. It's just, the sword is on the floor, bolts, everything, like everything is, and I'm like, sword! And I turn around, and one of the guys in the Corps had my back. And sword got thrown out of nowhere, get the sword, get back in the fight. Took a little bit of adjustment to get back in the fight. But we went back into it like nothing happened, and the crowd, on stage was going, and then, I killed Tybalt like I'm supposed to, like it's supposed to be. And then you basically, you have this basically great emotional fit, and you leave the stage, and then the curtain goes down. And I remember after that, you have very little time between Act 2 and Act 3. But I remember having a pause to myself, and I remember myself when I was in the Corps de Ballet, and I slightly saved the day. And then right now somebody had saved my day. And it just made me, it made me realize that, that goes in life too, I guess, but in theater and in dance, it's never one man's job, or one woman's job, shall I say. It's never one person's job. It's the effort of many, many, many moving pieces and many people together. And it just gave me a sense of, it was very humbling that you're only as good as the people that surround you. You're all in this together. And that was awesome, because that's what it's all about. It's not about one person jumping, or one person lifting, or one person being great. It's about the greatness of the collective that make that one person shine. And that's the crew, that's the orchestra, that's the wardrobe, makeup, ballet masters, dancers, I mean, you name it, it's literally everybody. And that's my little story, that's my little anecdote, that I think in this day and time, we have to stay together, and we gotta be strong until the curtain goes down. So this is my ABT memory. I'm Alex Hammoudi, and it's been a pleasure.